The speed of light. Encounter on Mars. Picture this. An old man, his face weathered with age, his white beard long and untamed. He's a genius, a self-made inventor, and his name is Isaac. Isaac had spent decades working on an invention that many thought impossible, a ship that could travel at the speed of light. With it, he had ventured beyond Earth, beyond the moon, and now, here he was, on Mars. But his grand invention, this technological marvel, had betrayed him. For days now, his ship sat in silence, broken and immobile on the red sands. Isaac had tried everything to fix it, rewiring the circuits, reconfiguring the engines, rerouting power. But nothing worked. He was trapped. His supplies were running low. The water filters were failing, and the food he'd packed for his journey was down to the last few rations. Isaac knew he didn't have long. Each day on Mars felt like a slow descent into despair, with nothing but the barren, rusty horizon stretching out before him. Yet, he wasn't ready to give up. His mind kept working, always trying to devise a new plan, a new way to survive. He spent hours sketching out designs, drawing up blueprints in the dirt with trembling fingers, hoping for a spark of inspiration. One day, as he wandered further from his ship in a desperate search for anything that could help, he saw something strange on the horizon. Squinting through the thin Martian atmosphere, he could make out the outline of structures. A town, but it couldn't be, could it? Isaac's heart pounded as he approached cautiously. There, nestled among the red dunes, was a settlement. At first glance, it looked almost human. Buildings, roads, and even figures moving about. But as he got closer, he realized these weren't humans. They were something else. Marslings, he would come to call them. They were humanoid in shape, but with skin the color of Mars soil, a deep, rusty red. Their eyes were large, with a faint glow, almost as if they absorbed every drop of the dim Martian sunlight. They wore simple, flowing garments that shimmered faintly as they moved, and their bodies seemed both fragile and strong, as if perfectly adapted to the harshness of the planet. Isaac's first instinct was fear. What were these creatures? Would they help him or harm him? His mind raced with possibilities. Could they even communicate? Did they know of Earth? But his body was weak, and his options were few. He had to take the risk. He stepped forward into their town, his breath shallow, his heart racing. At first, they simply stared at him, their glowing eyes filled with curiosity. Isaac raised his hands, trying to show he meant no harm. His voice trembled as he spoke, not knowing if they could understand him. I come in peace, he stammered, his voice weak from days of isolation. To his surprise, one of the Marslings stepped forward, a figure taller and more regal than the others. The being spoke in a language Isaac didn't recognize, a series of soft, melodic sounds that flowed like music. But then, with a gentle gesture, it touched a device on its wrist, and the strange sound shifted, transformed into words Isaac could understand. "You are lost," the Marsling said, its voice now soft and gentle in his ears. "You are not from here." Isaac nodded, relief flooding through him. "Yes, my ship. It's broken. I need to get back to Earth. I'm running out of time." The Marsling studied him for a moment, then motioned for him to follow. As Isaac entered the heart of their town, he saw more of their way of life. The Marslings were advanced in ways he hadn't expected. They had technology, but it was unlike anything he had ever seen. Organic, almost alive. Their buildings pulsed with a soft glow. Their machines hummed with a quiet energy, and everything seemed to be in harmony with the planet itself. As they led him into a central hall, Isaac could feel the weight of his journey pressing down on him. His body was exhausted, his mind weary, but there was a glimmer of hope now. Maybe these beings could help him. Maybe they had the technology to repair his ship or to sustain him long enough to find another way. The leader, whom Isaac had come to think of as their chief, explained that they had watched him since he arrived. They knew of his struggle, of his ship's failure, and of his dwindling supplies. They also knew of Earth, though they had never made contact. Mars, for them, had always been enough. But there was something else. The Marslings, though peaceful, were not without their own troubles. They were a dying species. Their numbers had been dwindling for centuries, and now they were on the brink of extinction. They had watched humanity from afar, seeing in them both the potential for great destruction and great creation. Isaac realized with a heavy heart that these beings, so unlike humans yet so familiar, were not saviors. They were survivors just like him, clinging to life in a world that had grown harsh and unforgiving. In the days that followed, Isaac stayed with the Marslings, learning from them, observing their way of life. They shared their food with him, strange, nutrient-rich plants that grew in the Martian soil, and offered him shelter. But every day, as he looked at the red sky above, his thoughts drifted back to Earth. He missed home. The green fields, the blue oceans, the sound of wind rustling through the trees, all seemed like a distant dream now. And then, the nightmares began. At night, Isaac would lie in his small Marsling-built shelter, listening to the strange, haunting sounds of the planet. The winds howled, the ground seemed to hum, and sometimes, just beyond the edge of his hearing, he thought he could hear whispers in a language he didn't know but could almost understand. He began to feel a presence, something ancient, something buried deep within Mars. The Marslings spoke of it in hushed tones, calling it the Old One, an entity or force that had once ruled the planet, but had since fallen into a deep slumber. Isaac couldn't shake the feeling that this Old One was watching him, that it was connected to him somehow. And the more time he spent on Mars, the stronger that connection became. He began to dream of the Old One, dreams of vast, shadowy landscapes, of a mind so vast and alien that it defied understanding. As the days passed, Isaac became more and more obsessed with this presence. He would wander the Martian landscape, searching for signs of it, feeling its pull deep beneath the ground. The Marslings grew concerned. They warned him to stay away from certain areas, to avoid the places where the Old One's influence was strongest. But Isaac couldn't help himself. One day, while exploring a distant canyon, Isaac stumbled upon something, an ancient ruin buried beneath the sands. It was a structure, vast and crumbling, but still pulsing with a faint, eerie glow. As he stepped closer, he felt the ground tremble beneath his feet, and a voice, deep and resonant, echoed in his mind. "You are not alone." Isaac fell to his knees, his heart pounding in his chest. The Old One was awake, and now it had noticed him.